This is a scary story from when I was a kid. It was during my early teens that me and my 3 best friends decided we were gonna have a seance. None of us had ever had an experience with anything paranormal, but we all liked scary movies and figured it'd be fun to try and contact a spirit using a Ouija board. Now, this was back in the early 2000s, and there was really such a thing as Google back then. So we went to the local bookstore and asked them for a beginner's guide to contacting spirits. And that's where we got the book that would change our lives forever. We followed the instructions in the book to the letter, gathered around the table with the Ouija board, lit some candles, and after a few moments of silence, started asking questions. The plan was that one of us would ask the questions and the rest of us would put our hands on the planchette, or whatever you call that thing that moves across the board. We asked if there was anyone there and what their name was. It felt like an eternity, but eventually the planchette moved to spell out the name Billy. As the night wore on, we asked more questions. At first they were simple. How old are you? How did you die? What's your favorite food? But soon we started asking more serious ones. Are you happy being dead? Would you like to come back as a human again? Do you hate your family? It was then that we realized that this was no longer fun. For starters, the answers we were getting were disturbing. Billy didn't just hate his family, he despised them. He wanted revenge on his mother for killing him and his father for not protecting him. And as the night dragged on, the room started getting colder and colder. Then all the lights in the house flickered and died, plunging us into total darkness. At this point, we were screaming at each other to leave, but none of us wanted to be the first to break and run away. That's when we started hearing footsteps near the door, footsteps that sounded an awful lot like dragging metal moans. My blood ran cold, and I knew I had to do something. I couldn't see, but I reached out a hand and grabbed the nearest thing I could, which happened to be the candle. I turned around and without thinking, threw it towards the door, hoping it would land on the mat outside and stop whatever was coming in from entering. Of course, it didn't, and when the flame hit the floor, it spread to the carpet, causing the entire room to burst into flames. We spent the next few minutes screaming at the top of our lungs as we tried to find the door in the pitch-black smoke-filled room. Eventually, my friends and I made it outside safe and sound, but we never looked back. I still think about that night sometimes and wonder why we survived. And since then I've done everything I can to forget about that seance and the evil spirit that was haunting us. However, years later, my friends and I started noticing weird things happening around us. My friend Amy noticed her television flickering, even though nothing was wrong with the connection. A few days later, my friend Jake was reading a book when the pages started flipping on their own. Then my other friend Chloe started hearing whispers in her ear whenever she was alone. At first, we assumed it was just a coincidence and had nothing to do with that night. But soon the incidents became too much to ignore. My friend Jake was home for Christmas break when all the lights in his house suddenly went out. As he frantically tried to find the breaker box in the pitch-black house, he heard a voice whisper in his ear, "Jake, I'm here." Not knowing what else to do, he started praying, begging God to protect him from whatever was trying to get in. That's when he heard another voice, this one belonging to my mom. She was calling his name, telling him to get out of the closet where he was hiding. Terrified, Jake fell to his knees and called out to her, but there was no reply. Then the whispering started again. This time it said, "Your mom's not here, but I am." Before Jake could react, whatever was in the closet with him slammed the door open and lunged at him. Screaming at the top of his lungs, Jake ran out of the house and didn't stop running until he got to my house. When he pounded on the door and told us what had happened, we knew we had to do something. If this spirit was truly haunting him, then it was only a matter of time before it found him. In a secluded part of town, we decided we were going to confront Billy one last time. Armed with holy water, salt, sage, whatever, we returned to Jake's house to perform one final exorcism. We walked into the living room where all the lights were off except for the fireplace, which cast long shadows around the room. As we stood there in silence, waiting for something to happen, we heard footsteps coming down the stairs. Slowly, hesitantly, we started to walk towards the stairs, eyes fixed on the spot where the figure stood. It started moving again, walking past us and out the front door. Now, I don't want to scare you, but I'm telling you the truth. Whatever was in that house was evil incarnate. It was so horrifying, so demonic looking, that I can't even bring myself to describe it here. All I remember is its eyes, glowing red in the darkness, staring directly at me. Not knowing what to do, I threw a handful of salt behind me and yelled, "In the name of God, I banish you. I know it sounds stupid, but at the time, that's all I could think to say. As soon as the words left my mouth, the creature let out a deafening roar, shook the ground beneath our feet, and vanished into thin air. From that moment on, whatever it was, it never came back. To this day, I still keep a crucifix around my neck at all times and make sure my house is blessed by a priest every Easter. You see, I know how dangerous those spirits can be, how one wrong move and they could possess you, control you, use you as a vessel to enter this world once again. And while I may never fully understand what happened that night, I do know one thing: never mess with a Ouija board. You might just invite something really nasty into your life. Hi everyone, thank you for watching my channel. Don't forget to like this video if you liked it and subscribe if you haven't already. You can also check out my podcast or support me on a platform. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.